Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM and some life content. In today's video, some of you guessed it right, I will be covering Le-Vel/Thrive along with a little bit of the Watts case. I did just want to give a quick disclaimer that this video is just for entertainment purposes only and also just my opinions. On top of that as well, I would like to send my respects to the families and please be respectful in the comment section below because I know that there's a lot of people who can get really heated with this particular case because it was so widely known and widely followed. So with that being said, just please be respectful in the comment section. First, I'm going to go over the case a little bit and then I'm going to kind of break down the actual company itself, like how I would normally do for my anti-MLM content. If you don't know that much about the Watts case, I do want to issue a trigger warning. There will be talk of things in this that might not be okay for some people, so viewer discretion is advised. Chris and Shannan had met in 2009 through a mutual Facebook friend. They went on a blind date. Chris would later propose in 2011, and then in November of 2012, the couple would be married. In 2013, now this was all happening in North Carolina. In 2013, the couple would decide to move to Frederick, Colorado, and they would also be staying with friends in between waiting for their house to be built. Then later that year, in December of 2013, Bella was born. If you did not know about Shannan, unfortunately she had been struggling with different illnesses, two of those being lupus and fibromyalgia. And the doctors had told her that she would most likely not be able to conceive any children, at least naturally. Bella was, they used the fertility medication for Bella, and she was born in December of 2013. While they were living in Colorado, Shannan and Chris both worked at a Ford dealership. Chris was a mechanic and Shannan was in sales. Now in 2015 is when Chris landed the job at Anadarko Petroleum. At the same time, Shannan had also left the Ford dealership and she started working for a call center in a children's hospital. In July of 2015, Shannan gave birth to Celeste. Now, when Celeste was born, she actually had to undergo surgeries because of, I forget exactly what it was. I believe it was a tightened esophagus or something along those lines. So, of course, that adds up over time. Those are a lot of medical expenses, and also they ended up finding out that Bella had some kind of medical issues as well. So if you mix all of that in with Shannan and her medical condition or illnesses as well, that adds up to a lot of financial burden. With that being said, all of this mixed with credit card debt, their household income was about $90K. However, they had other bills, they had their mortgage, they had this, that, and the other. I believe they also had student loans. So combined, there was a lot of money that they were not able to pay off. This resulted in them filing for bankruptcy in 2015 with a liabilities of, it was over $448,000. Then later on in 2016, Shannan had left her job at the call center in the children's hospital and ended up becoming a brand promoter with Thrive. If you do not know what Thrive is, we are going to go more in depth with it a little bit later in this video, but if you've ever heard of the brand Le-Vel or Thrive, it is a multi-level marketing company, which if you are new to this channel, I am very anti-MLM, so I will be going over the company with that approach. She ended up making it right before what had happened. She actually made it to 200K VIP, which is the highest rank that you can make in Le-Vel Thrive. Let's fast forward to the year 2018. This is when Shannan was really doing well with Thrive, Le-Vel, Thrive, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to reference both of those in this video. She ended up making 65 to 70K a year. So at that point, you would think any normal person the financial troubles that they went through are starting to become a thing of the past. This is a road to being able to provide for their family a little bit more. And I do believe that, wholeheartedly, I do believe that Shannan was just trying to make a life for her and her family. As anti-MLM as I am, I wholeheartedly believe that she was doing this so that, excuse me, so that she could be able to have the American dream for her and her family. In that very same year, Shannan and her family were actually featured in the Le-Vel Thrive magazine, and also very same year as well, she earned her white Lexus. She also earned an iPad mini, which is part of the compensation plan, as part of the rewards plan, I guess you can say, for the company. In that very same year, Shannan found out that she was pregnant with baby Nico. She didn't know that it was a boy, obviously, up until a little bit later. And she was going on a trip that was sponsored. We all know how the free trips are. If you're anti-MLM, we all know how those actually work. But for the sake of this portion of the video, we're going to call it a free trip. To San Diego, she brought Chris with her, and there were a couple of lives that I found on YouTube that were talking about Shannan. She was talking about how this was celebratory because she found out that she was pregnant. There was a gender reveal that was scheduled for, I believe it was August 19th, and she was supposed to go in for a scan to find out the gender of the baby on August 8th. That very same year as well, in June, late June, Shannan took Bella and Celeste on a 6-week vacation back to North Carolina to be with their families, because that's where Chris and Shannan's families reside, is in North Carolina. And the plan was that Chris would come the last week. So they would be on vacation for 5 weeks. Chris would come the last week because that is apparently, according to his job, he couldn't leave until that very last week. This is when everything goes sour. While Shannan was in North Carolina, she had started noticing that communication and Chris's demeanor was changing. Chris had started his relationship, or his affair, with his mistress, Nicole Kessinger. At the time that Shannan was talking to her friends and confiding in them and telling them that there's something wrong with Chris, he's not acting himself, he's very distant, he's not communicating very well with me, Shannan had actually told Chris about marriage counseling. Chris had said that he's refusing to do it, he doesn't want to do it. Then he was going back and forth saying that he's not sure what he wants to do with the marriage. But meanwhile, in the background, he is seeing this other woman. There was also an app that he had on his phone. It was some kind of calculator app that was an app disguised as a secret photo gallery. So he would take all of the photos and videos that he had of Nikki and put them into that calculator app. Okay, so here's where I'm going to start reading off of my notes. This is where I want to make sure that all of the details are 100% in this video. So on July 25th of 2018, Chris spent 3.5 hours searching online for when is the best time to say I love you. On July 28th, Chris and Nikki spent the night together at the Great Sand Dunes. If you saw any of the clips from their trip, they're going down the sand dunes, they're having a good time, blah, blah, blah. The one thing that really irks me about Nikki is when they released all of their messages and voicemails and stuff like that. You alright? Sorry, Zero was coughing. But anyway, when they released all of that, there was this one where she was laughing and it sounded like a creepy child's laugh that you hear in the scary movies. That's honestly how I felt when I was watching that. So I got a really eerie feeling from that. After a few weeks that he had with Nikki, he ended up actually going to North Carolina and spending that last week of their 6-week vacation with his wife and the girls. Upon his arrival, he was very normal. He acted like he normally would. But throughout that week, there was a noticeable difference in how he was acting and how he was communicating with everybody. Then on August 4th of 2018, Nicole Kessinger searches for wedding dresses on Google. And at this time, she also searched for the Facebook accounts of Shannan and Chris. But if you listen to any of her interviews, there were parts in her interview where she was talking about how they weren't really serious. She was telling friends that they weren't really serious, but here she is looking for wedding dresses. While Chris was in North Carolina, this is going back to that vacation that they had. While Chris was in North Carolina, he was still actively talking to Nikki the entire time that he was there. And according to Nikki, he had told her that he had a conversation with Shannan, and Shannan was the one that refused to work on the marriage and that Shannan wanted the divorce. On August 7th, Shannan confided in her friend again that Chris wasn't acting himself. Chris had said he doesn't really want a third baby. He's fine with just Bella and Celeste, and that he is afraid. So, of course, this ended up leading into other discussions with the two of them. So Shannan started confiding in her friends that he's just acting weird. She doesn't know him anymore. He's changed so much. Then the following day, on August 8th, Shannan contacted her friends and said that she would be canceling the gender reveal party. And the reason being is because of Chris's change in demeanor. After the gender scan, Shannan's search history said that she was looking up marriage counseling. Now, my theory, this is just my theory, but my theory is that Chris found out that it was a boy, and at that point, he was thinking, okay, maybe we can make this work, but he's not ready to let go of Nikki. So Nicole Atkinson dropped Shannan off at 1:48 in the morning on August 13th. That would be the last time that anybody saw Shannan alive. The following morning, because Nicole knew that Shannan had an appointment with the women's clinic because she had said that she wasn't feeling well and that she was worried that it had something to do with baby Nico. And so she scheduled an appointment for 10 o'clock that morning. Well, usually, because of the nature of Shannan's job, because of the nature of how she is with her friends and everything, it wasn't like her to not text everybody, to not respond to text messages. So this is when, and I really think that Nicole Atkinson was the reason why Chris was even caught. And that's just a theory of mine. This is just me speculating, but I really think that she was a crucial part in really just in this case and making sure that Chris is behind bars. But when this was all going down, she tried talking to Chris. Chris was saying that Shannan went on a play date with her friends, with the baby's friends, with Bella and Celeste's friends. He didn't know who it was. He didn't know where she was or anything like that. But Nicole said that she knew that she had a doctor's appointment that morning. So she doesn't believe that she was going on a play date. It was unlike her, and it was unlike her to not have any kind of communication with the rest of the world because her cell phone went with her everywhere. Nicole ended up, because Chris told her to leave the residence and not call the police because he knows that she's on a play date. However, Nicole Atkinson followed her gut and went to the clinic, ended up getting the clinic to tell her that Shannan never showed up for her appointment. And this is when Nicole Atkinson was starting to message friends and family, ask them if they've heard from Shannan, if they knew anything that was odd. And that is when she went back to the residence. She tried to get in. She saw that, and this is ongoing ever since she got to the house, but she saw that Shannan's car was there. The car seats were in the car. Chris was just not receptive to the information. He didn't care. He had no emotion about it. When Nicole went back to the house, she had called the police station. They showed up at the house. They tried to get into the house, but they had to wait until Chris got home. And you could tell that he wasn't really worried. He was very just not emotional about it. While they're going through the search of the entire house, the officer does question Chris, but in between all of this, Chris finds Shannan's wedding ring and shows the officer that he found it somewhere in the house, and that they found Shannan's phone in the cushions of one of their sofas. This is when Nicole Atkinson said that something wasn't right, because there's no way that Shannan would go anywhere without her phone. The weird part is that prior to all of this happening, when Chris went to work at 5:30 in the morning that morning, he volunteered to go to a work site even though he had other work sites on his agenda that day. At that same time, he staged a call to Shannan's phone. He also searched for the school that Bella and Celeste were going to and told them that they would no longer be in attendance. Also called the estate agents that very same morning. So of course, all of this adding up, of course they didn't know about this yet, but all of this adding up doesn't look real good, Chris, obviously. Shannan's mom, Sandra, she had a weird feeling, so she called the police station and said that she's concerned. She feels that Chris is not telling the entire truth, that she thinks he has some kind of involvement in this whole thing. The second officer that talked to Chris, the story changed. The story was different. So of course, that automatically makes you think that he can possibly be, he's a suspect. He could have possibly done this. He went on TV and did an interview, and you could see in the interview, it's plastered all over YouTube. I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it by now, but you can see in that interview that he's very calm, collected, emotionless, and it just seems weird. After that interview, of course, he gets interviewed by FBI agents. The FBI agents let him know that they are going to consider him a suspect, but they had asked him, hey, do you mind coming in for a polygraph test? So Chris goes in for the polygraph test. It came back that he was not being truthful. He was being deceptive. He ends up, because he was in this interview room for a little bit, he ends up saying and confessing to his affair and saying that that's why he didn't do well on the polygraph test, because he's hiding something else and that there was infidelity from his side, yada, yada, yada. They said, well, we didn't question you about the infidelity. We already knew about it because Nikki has already called and talked to us about it. Voluntarily, she called and talked about it. There's also something else to mention. While he was being interviewed, they retrieved the GPS from his truck. They were able to find a specific work site, and at that work site is where he disposed of the bodies. He put Shannan in a shallow grave, and then he put his daughters into the tank that was there. With all of that being said, Chris was sentenced on November of 2018 after he pled guilty. He admitted to killing his pregnant wife, Shannan Watts, their daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste. They died by asphyxiation due to smothering, while Shannan died by asphyxiation due to strangling. He pleaded guilty on November 6th of 2018 to multiple counts of first-degree murder as part of a plea deal when the death penalty was removed from sentencing. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, 3 to be served consecutively, and 2 to be served concurrently. There were 2 videos that I did about the Watts on my channel, I want to say back in September or October. So of course, since the letters from Christopher came out, all of the stuff on Facebook that was Cindy Watts came out, all of that stuff came out. I think that there's more to the story. I think that we don't know the entire story, and I think that eventually, because Chris is going to sit behind bars for the rest of his life, I think that we will eventually find out, because he is going to spill more of the truth. But I don't think that we know the whole story at this point. I also don't think that we know the whole story about Nikki, because in letters from Christopher, he talked about how Nikki had a darkness to her and how there are things that he'll never tell people about Nikki. I don't know if this was just a way for him to make himself look better, or make it look like he was a different person because of her and almost trying to put the blame on her a little bit. But then later on, he also said that the Thrive patches were making him become a different person. He was only sleeping 3 hours a night. I do think that Nikki, there's more to the story on that too. I don't think that this tragic story is over. I think there's more to the story. But this is a disgusting case, and I don't care to anyone out there who is a fan of Chris Watts. Just unsubscribe from my channel if you are, please. But so how am I going to tie this into the anti-MLM stuff that I usually do? The reason why is because I wanted to talk about Thrive, the company itself. So this is where I'm going to be reading off of my notes as well. Thrive was started in 2012. In 2013, there were already many complaints to the FDA, according to the Truth in Advertising website. If you are not familiar with that website and you're part of the anti-MLM community, please familiarize yourself with it, because that is a great source for finding information about anything MLM related, but it is a great site. But anyway, since 2013, there have been several complaints to the FDA saying that people who were using the Thrive products, they experienced abdominal pain, headaches, and increased blood pressure. So those are 3 major complaints, and some of those cases that were reported were also hospitalized for that. As a side note as well, manufacturers of dietary supplements, they actually do not have to be FDA approved. So before anyone says, well, why would you take it if it's not FDA approved? Most dietary supplements are not FDA approved. Thrive is known for a 3-step process, and it's these 2 capsules that you take before your feet even hit the ground. That's literally what every single rep says in their videos, and that's what the intro says on the website. So before your feet hit the ground, you're supposed to take these 2 capsules. Within 20 to 30 minutes, you're supposed to take something called a lifestyle mix, which is a shake, and then within 20 or 30 minutes of that, you are supposed to stick the Thrive patch on. The Thrive patch... Sorry, Zero is getting really antsy and she's starting to cry. The Thrive patch is called a DFT patch, which stands for Dermafusion Technology. I have a really bad gut feeling about this patch. At the time of researching, there was a patent pending. Something is telling me that there's something up with these patches. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. This is just my opinion that I'm expressing. But after seeing the interview with Chris, now again, this could just have been a ploy for him to be able to get away with it, so to speak. But he was talking about how he was not sleeping. He was only sleeping 3 hours a night. He was constantly moving. He was constantly, working out and all this kind of stuff. And if he did have an increased blood pressure, or let's say that everything escalated, everything was intensified, that is a little worrisome, because there are other people that are taking this patch. Now, I'm not saying that all of these people are going to go out and do this to their families. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just worrisome that there have been so many complaints, along with how everything intensified with Chris. And usually if you feel that rush of energy and stuff, you're a first day thriver is what they call them. But I don't know. There's something about that patch that just doesn't sit well with me. I just have a weird gut feeling, and I don't know. The compensation plan and income disclosure statement portion of this. There is no income disclosure statement, so obviously I have no idea what these people make on average, minimum, maximum, none of that. But the Recovering Hunbot did a really, really good video breaking down the entire compensation plan. So I will leave a link to her video below if you want a further breakdown of the compensation plan. There are many different ways that you can earn money with this company. There's a lot of commission based, whether it's individual or team commissions, that sort of thing. There's some kind of auto ship rewards. You can also you can earn an iPad mini. On top of that, there are many different cars that you can earn that are either in white or black, which include cars like a Lexus, Tesla, BMW, and I can't remember all the other ones. And there are select truck models that you can have. So There are multiple different cars. And also, you can earn the lifestyle getaways is what they call them in their rewards plan. And that's what Shannan was doing. She was going on a lot of these trips. She also had the white Lexus. She had the iPad mini. So obviously you can tell that she was really high ranking in the company. She did make it to 200K VIP status before the tragic murders. And as well as that, there are also different starter packs, which I'm not going to go over in full detail, but the pricing for them is $200, $400, and I believe the last one is $600. And they're just different starter packs, so they're just your regular starter packs that we see in a lot of different companies, MLM companies. I wanted to tie this back into the Watts family. What does Thrive have to do with the Watts family? Well, obviously, just like I said, Shannan Watts, she hit 200K right before all of this happened with Thrive. Thrive did release a tweet after all of this happened because I was curious to find out if they did say anything because she was very high ranking. They did. There was a tweet that came out about when all of this happened. There are countless of videos on YouTube of all of Shannan's lives, but if you want, you can look them up on YouTube. There are a ton of these videos. And this is a perfect example of why I don't Hun shame people. Because if you watch all of her lives, it could just be toxic positivity, but if you watch all of her lives, she spilled her guts to the world. She talked about her struggles. She talked about her kids. She talked about how much she loved Chris. And you would think from all of these videos and the pictures and social media that she was living a perfect life. So that's just something I wanted to bring up. And also, she was the perfect target for an MLM company. And this is why I always think that MLMs are predatory. Whether her upline did this on purpose or not, but Shannan was the perfect target because she had lupus, fibromyalgia, so she's struggling with the chronic illnesses. On top of that as well, they had financial issues. So you can kind of see how she would be the perfect target for an MLM. She was successful, but we do have to remember when we look at income disclosure statements, unfortunately with Le-Vel, there's no income disclosure statement, so we don't know for sure. But predominantly, all of the income disclosure statements that I have found, the people who make it to the top are 1-2% of people. Even the FTC says that 99.7% of people that join an MLM, they either make no money or they lose money. So that's why I don't like MLM companies, because Shannan, of course, she was selling the dream. A lot of her lives were about financial freedom and being able to be with her kids. I truly do think that she believed that. I truly do think that she wasn't scamming people. I don't know, it's just her demeanor and her videos and stuff. I really truly think that this was something that helped her come out of her shell. This was something that helped her keep her mind off of the things that were going on in her life, whether it be with all of her medical things or whatever the case may be. Do I think that the product actually worked for her? I don't know. I don't even want to try the product because the patch does scare me. I don't want to try the product, so I don't even want to test it out myself. I mean, it could have been possibly working for her, but I'm not her, so I don't know. I don't know if she was still in pain or if she was just doing this on social media, because, and this is an example of not just for MLM reps, this is an example for people on social media in general, that you, more times than not, don't see the bad things that are going on in people's lives. You only see the good. So judging by someone's Facebook profile, you might think that they live a perfect life, they have it all, they're living the American dream. But sometimes that's not the case. And there is a lot going on behind closed doors. I mean, because of how Shannan portrayed her life on social media, we'll never know from the other side if maybe there was something else going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm not saying that there was, but these are just things that you need to think about. And going back to the Hun shaming thing, this is why I don't Hun shame. This is why I hate the structure and the companies and not the reps themselves. Chris had said in the same interview when he talked about the patches, about how he felt weird and how he felt really energized more than usual. He was only sleeping 3 hours a night, blah, blah, blah. Well, they had asked him in that interview, well, could you just have told your wife, no, I don't want to take these? And he said, no, that wasn't an option. I was doing it to support her business because this was helping our family and blah, blah, blah. Another thing that he said in that interview as well that I found interesting was he was talking about how Shannan was making approximately the same amount of money that he was making a year, but that it wasn't taxed. So we all know that MLM reps sometimes don't know that you have to do your taxes on your MLM. Was she not doing her taxes, or did Chris just not know? I found that interesting because as an anti-MLMer, that's just something that I feel as though is very common when you talk to these reps, is that they don't know. With all of that being said, I wanted to just end this video with expressing my condolences to the families that were involved, and also just hoping that Shannan, Bella, Celeste, and little baby Nico are resting in peace. I personally think that it's really great that they put her maiden name on the tombstone and not the Watts name. That's just my opinion. I think that, I don't know, that's just my opinion. But before I close this video, I just wanted to, not to sound corny or anything, but I did just want to take a moment to remember the lives of Shannan, Bella, Celeste, and the life that would have been Nico, and just think about their lives and just kind of, whether you pray or send good vibes to the world, whatever, if you just want to take a moment right now to remember their memory. Alright everyone, if you have watched up to here, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I really do like true crime just as much as I like anti-MLM. So I hope that you guys like it, because I would love to introduce some more true crime into this channel. It is something that I invest a lot of time in, and I've watched so many documentaries. I've done so much research on everything since high school, since I took psychology in high school, which was in 2005, really long time ago. I've been really interested in this subject. So I think it's because I'm interested about the psychological aspects behind it. But anyway, if you guys like this video, make sure that you click that like button. Also subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Check me out on Patreon. Check out my merch if you'd like. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from my bedroom with my dogs. Bye!